Hi, welcome to Table Talk with Jen. I'm your host, Jennifer. The spinning of the truth stops at this table. Today we'll be talking about a very problematic issue. An issue that has brought questions and concerns among religious leaders within the institutional church industry. The issue of millennials exiting the church in masses. We haven't witnessed an exodus like this since the time of Moses. And there are many theories as to why millennials are exiting the church. But today we want the facts. We want the real talk as to why they're saying goodbye to the institutions. To better help us deal with this issue, I have in studio today Peter Honore.
How's it going?
It's going good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Peter is a millennial activist, a vigilante journalist, a VFX supervisor, and chief and editor for deathofmyreligion.com. So, Peter.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a very serious topic. You don't have to go far to look on Huffington Post, Washington this, and so forth about millennials leaving the church.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, before we get into the issues as to why, what are millennials? Define that.
Well, a millennial is typically a person who was born from the early 1980s to like the early 2000s.
Okay.
So anywhere from the age of 18 to 35. If you fall within that age range, then you are a millennial.
You're a millennial.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we're going to be talking a lot about institutions, which I mentioned in my intro. And you wrote in your book, Murder Victim Church, The Rise of the Institutions. You wrote a lot about institutions. So I want everyone to understand what institutions are, what I refer to when I say institutions. So can you define that as well before we get into the details of this topic?
Yeah. Well, an institution is typically an organization that has a political structure in place. It's basically an established organization.
Okay.
But one of the core features of an institution is the political apparatus or the feature. Basically, you got the president, the vice president, the treasurer, then the board of directors. And so there's a political apparatus.
Establishment.
Exactly. And it's used to create behavioral modification, behavioral control, and so forth. And so basically, that's the whole function of an institution. You think about a prison, if you will. It's called an institution. You got people who go into the prison systems for a very long time to become institutionalized. Like, their behavior is now dictated by that system, if you will. Like, so that's typically what an institution is, an established organization.
So what we call as church today, building you go to on Sunday, it's really institutional church or just institution is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, the institutions, they illegitimately identify themselves as the church.
Okay.
And that's really the whole reality. That's the systemic problem, if you will. Like, you know, for thousands of years, ever since the Messiah ascended and you had that whole thing that happened in 300 AD, the legalization of Christianity, if you will, we've been institutionalized. You follow what I'm saying? So for thousands of years, we kind of been identifying the church with an institution, and that's just not the reality of the situation.
Okay, wow. Okay, don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Topic
like,
for a whole nother show.
I feel you.
But today we want to deal with millennials leaving the institution, okay?
Yeah.
And why? Okay, it's statistically right now, it's approximately 70 to 80% of millennials that are leaving the church. That's a staggering number.
It is.
And what I found more interesting is the fact that they're leaving institutional church, the building of church, but they're still identifying themselves for the most part as Christians or as believers in God.
Yeah.
So why are they leaving the church? What's happening? What's causing this stampede out of the building?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they're leaving the church. I'm saying they're leaving the institution.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, because here's the thing about millennials, right? Millennials, they have adopted, because of technology, because we're growing in a generation to where corruption is everywhere, they've adopted this inherent defense mechanism where they feel like they have to authenticate what they believe. Like, there's no value in claiming to believe something without authenticating it.
Right.
And so when they're leaving the institutions, one of the results and the problems of that is the fact that when they go to these institutions, they're not seeing what they're actually reading manifested before them. It's called disillusionment. You believe something, but you don't ever see the reality of it. And so, you know, predominantly they're going there to try to get whatever the institution is preaching and marketing to them, and institutions are failing to deliver. So they're leaving. Like,